Imagine losing everything not to strangers, but to your own brother. The house you grew up in, the land your father built with his bare hands, the empire your family's name was tied to. That was my reality at 24. But what my brother didn't know was that betrayal can turn into fuel. And years later, I would stand across from him not as his victim, but as the man who survived him, greater than. If you've ever been stabbed in the back by someone you trusted, then you're going to feel this story in your bones. Hit that like button, subscribe, and get ready for one of the most satisfying revenge stories you'll hear today. My father wasn't just a man. He was a force of nature. He started with nothing, just a bare hands and a dream. And from that dream came hundreds of acres of farmland, thriving factories that gave people jobs, and a mansion that wasn't just walls and bricks. It was living proof of his legacy. People admired him. Some even envied him. But above all, they trusted him. His word carried more weight than contracts, more authority than courts. And to me, he wasn't just a father. He was my hero. When he died, the world assumed I was left to grieve. But grief is a luxury you can only afford when the ground beneath your feet isn't being stolen. Because while I was drowning in sorrow, my elder brother was busy rewriting history. Behind closed doors, he manipulated lawyers, tampered with my father's will, and shifted millions into offshore accounts. He sold off factories that carried the sweat of my father's back, the soil my father had tilled, and even the mansion where our childhood laughter once echoed. By the time I uncovered the betrayal, everything was gone. The land, the factories, even the house that had raised me. And what did I get? A name mocked by the world. The fool who lost everything. I remember looking in the mirror one night, hands trembling, eyes hollow. My chest burned with anger, but beneath it, shame. Shame that I hadn't seen it coming. Shame that I'd trusted blood over instinct. My brother didn't just rob me of money, he robbed me of identity. But here's the truth about pain. It can either break you, or it can remake you. My grief turned into fire. My betrayal became fuel. And every sleepless night became another lesson. I started from scratch. No inheritance. No safety net. Just the lessons my father had unknowingly drilled into me. Discipline, vision, and grit. At first, it was humiliating. I worked jobs people whispered were beneath the sun of a tycoon. I failed again and again. But each failure hardened me, sharpened me. Brick by brick, I built my own empire. Not one born from inheritance, but forged in resilience. Years passed. My name began to carry weight again, not as the fool who lost everything, but as the man who created something new from ashes. And then, fate stepped in. My brother's greed caught up with him. The same arrogance that made him steal from me blinded him to reality. His empire collapsed. Debts, lawsuits, broken partnerships. The world that once respected him now turned its back. And one day, across a polished boardroom table, we met again. I wasn't the broken boy he betrayed. I was the man he could never destroy. He looked at MIA's sunken, voice shaky. He couldn't even bring himself to say my name. For years, he had mocked me, whispered to others that I was weak, that I was nothing without our father's empire. But there I was, stronger, richer, untouchable. And in that moment, I realized I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to ruin him. His downfall was already complete. My revenge wasn't in fire and blood. My revenge was in silence. Because my victory was simple, his betrayal had become his curse. And as I looked into his defeated eyes, I understood something powerful. Revenge isn't about destroying your enemy. It's about building yourself so strong that their betrayal becomes irrelevant. While they drown in the ruins of their own choices, I leaned back in my chair, studying him. He looked small, fragile, a shadow of the man who once stole everything from me. He had destroyed himself long before I ever got the chance. And in that silence, I felt something unexpected: peace. Because true revenge, it doesn't come from breaking someone else. It comes from becoming unbreakable. So here's what I learned. Betrayal cuts deep, but it doesn't have to define you. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't taking back what was stolen. It's proving you never needed it in the first place. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button and tell me in the comments. What's the most satisfying revenge you've ever witnessed? And of course, don't forget to subscribe for more stories like this, because trust me, we're just getting started.